Good afternoon. Today is the 19th of April and it's time for yet another, not particularly interesting, very vague and probably quite boring vlog. My lady wife and I have recently been on a trip to visit my father-in-law and my two sisters-in-law in the northwest, and something occurred to me when we were up there that is something that I have considered before, but maybe it's something that we never thought about really. Some of you will definitely have pondered this, and it's whether kind of regional brand loyalty in cars still exists. So regional brand loyalty is particular areas of the country being loyal to one particular manufacturer. For example, if you lived in Essex, and I think it's still the case even today, there are lots of Fords there because Ford have been based in Essex for a really, really long time, particularly in areas like Brentwood, where one of the technical centre and marketing centre was, also in Dagenham, where one of the main factories was. So in that area you see lots and lots of Fords on Essex plates. Obviously Essex is still where they register their Preston fleet cars today. So definitely in the south, near here there used to be a factory making the Ford Transit until 2013. So actually there were lots and lots and lots of Fords down here when I was younger. It wouldn't have been as much of a kind of thing in Hampshire as it would have been in Essex, but certainly it was a thing down here. When you go up to somewhere like Luton, traditionally a very, very important manufacturing site for General Motors, with the Vauxhall plant. Obviously that doesn't exist anymore. The IBC plant where they make vans is distinct from that one, because actually that was started by a different company. But generally Luton, yeah, lots and lots of Vauxhalls in that area, and also a very important facility is Ellesmere Port, where they still make the Astra today, I think it's the Astra they make there, and it opened in the early 60s making the Vauxhall Viva HA. That is where we actually were, and one of my lady wife's family members actually used to work at Vauxhall. And for many, many years, members of the family, like my father-in-law, would get the sort of cars after. I think his name was John. John would have them first on a Vauxhall employee discount scheme, and then they'd come to someone like my father, who obviously got them cheap from John as well. And so if you walk around a little village up near there, it's sort of between Chester and Ellesmere Port, and you see tons of older Vauxhalls, because a lot of people have lived in that area for a long time and that's all they've ever bought. When I first visited the area in 2016, there were even more of them. But what's really strange is that when we went on the walk a few days ago, we didn't really see any Vauxhalls beyond about 2017 or 18, which is about the time that the company was sold first to PSA, and then obviously when Stellantis was created a couple of years later, that's what it became. But it doesn't seem that people are buying them in the sort of numbers they're used to there. So my father-in-law has an Astra to 2010. He's had it since 2011. It was, I think, a sort of demo car or something. And before that, he just had a string of Vauxhalls. I think for at least 30 years, if not 35 years. And my sister-in-law's fiance, he's got an Astra as well. It's a 2015. It just sort of goes on and on like that, and it's a typical pattern, I think, in that area. But you go there, and actually stuff after that, it's not Vauxhall. We saw, I think, 2 73 plate Vauxhalls, where we used to see them all the time. The monthly sales figures from the Society of Motor Manufacturers Traders do attest to this. They say that brands like Kia and BMW and Audi and Volkswagen are far more popular than Vauxhall are these days. It's unusual for Vauxhall to actually appear in the top 5 manufacturers any given month. The Corsa and Mocha do appear in the top 10 quite often, but even the Corsa's kind of falling down the rankings now in favour of things like the Nissan Qashqai and the Ford Puma. And as other people move into the area, what tends to happen in an area like that, and the area that I'm from is very similar to this as well, is that someone will live in a house for maybe 30, 40 years, and sadly the people who live there pass away, or they get too old to live there, and they might move into a home or something. And when the house is sold, somebody buys the house and they make it different. They make it grey, which used to be the sort of thing that happens these days. They expand the house and get rid of the garage and things like that, and they have a very shiny new Audi or BMW or something like that parked outside, or Toyota. They don't have the Vauxhalls anymore, even though Vauxhall will sell you a Crossland, it will sell you a Mocha, sell you a Grandland, even the new Frontera is coming out soon. You expect to see one of those, but you just don't. It's something else, and I just think that's kind of a shame. Obviously, we're still manufacturing cars at Ellesmere Port. We're still manufacturing cars, particularly in the Midlands. I mean, round there, it was sort of BL, then Rover, and obviously the MG Rover era is best represented in the Midlands. Even now, you see more of them there than anywhere else. So does this thing even exist anymore? Is this something that in your family that you sort of experienced? When I was younger, we weren't a Ford family. Next door were. They bought Fords all the way through. They still got them. And this is talking from the sort of 70s through to now. They just had Fords. So obviously it is a thing in certain areas, particularly in the south. Whereas in the northwest, obviously it's different because that's where the manufacturing was and that's where the jobs were. So there we go. Obviously in France for many years, I think it's probably the case now, French brands were the sort of strongest, maybe in Alsace, which is where the Peugeot company were based for many years. There are different sort of loyalties to what you buy as opposed to Paris, which is actually where Renault's factory was. It was right in the middle of the Seine for many, many years. So I'm interested to hear what you think about this. We're not talking about necessarily, in this country they like to buy lots of Volvos because Volvos have never been made here. We're talking about actual loyalty to brands that are made specifically in the area where people live, which is interesting. But there we are. Thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again very soon for some more very vague and possibly not particularly interesting music.